Wow, this is very, very interesting. I'm becoming more of a fan, so that's good. And now you've even got a Tesla name on it. I'm really impressed. I really like the idea. You got big points just for doing that.
As you can see, Sandy Munro actually quite impressed by his visit to Chargepoint, and I was too, because I see a lot of posts on social media just bashing their reliability and their chargers are never working, but they're actually working on some pretty awesome products to rival Tesla. We also got news today that Tesla sold $100 million worth of superchargers to an oil company, so I will give my thoughts on that as well, so let's dive in.
I've been very critical of charging systems, but I'm told that I'm going to see much more than I ever wanted to know about. So Michael's going to really help us out here by giving us a little bit of a background on how Chargepoint works and how they've been successful.
Welcome to Silicon Valley and hopefully what we think of as the birthplace of charging. Right? We've been around for 15 years, building out charging networks, and at the fundamental premise of what we do is we knew when electric vehicles started coming about, people would need to have a network, right? You go from your home to your office, to the stadium, around town, on a long vacation. You need a common way to find, pay for, and authorize or have access control to charging. So we built a network in order to enable that.
Did you? You built a network, as you call it. Is it a network of McDonald's ice cream machines? Because they never work. And now this guy is sweating buckets because Sandy Munro just showed up to find out what's going on. And ChargePoint has less than a year of cash left as they try and increase their charging reliability. So let's see what Sandy finds out.
We're a tech company. We make the best software and hardware in order to enable drivers, fleet drivers, individual drivers, to have a good experience on that journey. We don't make money from the drivers. We sell tech, hardware and software, and the services that surround it to companies who use it for their business. So we're not putting iron in the ground and then trying to tax the electrons being delivered to the vehicle. We're not in that business. We're in the business of providing that tech to a company. Could be a fuel and convenience location. Could be a workplace trying to serve employees. Could be a shopping center trying to make sure that people stay for 45 minutes and buy goods in the location. So everything we do is around enabling their business, not around building charging stations and then making money on the electrons. So does that make sense?
Yeah, you're selling cows instead of milking them.
Well, no wonder you don't have any charging reliability, because it doesn't matter to you whether people charge at your charger or not, because you've already sold the cow.
And I'm just wondering if you're going to be able to give me the same sort of feeling of confidence.
Yeah, so that comes down to a few different things. Can you see, find, and know what you're going to be charged for the charger? Because I think that people want to know before they get there, is somebody going to gouge me when I get there? And again, we're selling it to a site host. They're setting the price. So they may set it low because they're trying to sell cheesecake or hamburgers or coffee or whatever. And we think that's probably where the market ends up, where it's the amenities that surround it that pay for the functionality and the capability, and then you integrate it with your loyalty program from whatever retailer, grocery store, whatever it might be. So we think that's where it goes. It's different. Tesla's had an advantage. It's all their own vehicles, only access to their own chargers. It's a closed system. It's great, and we appreciate that. It's far more complex when you don't know what vehicle is going to pull up. The handshake between the vehicle and the charger has to work seamlessly, so there has to be a lot of advanced testing. You're going to see the Interop testing lab we have here.
I'm looking forward to that.
We don't like cars hitting the road that haven't been tested. It doesn't make any sense. And software versions change all the time. So it is far more complex than Tesla's set of variables that they've got. But we will get there.
Yeah, the reason it's more complex is because ChargePoint has had to integrate their software with several different OEM software to get the charging to work in each individual situation. And up to this point, Tesla has only had to make supercharging work with strictly Tesla vehicles, and that has made it simple and easy to grow. But ChargePoint has had to work with engineers at each different OEM to make it compatible, and also for over-the-air updates, they have to work with the engineers again anytime they want to increase the charging speed via software. This kind of complexity in software situation seems to be a theme at Legacy Auto, whereas Tesla just has everything in-house. They do everything themselves and they keep things simple.
The invention of range anxiety and whatnot, that came from companies that didn't have anything to offer, so they were going to scare the daylights out of you. Correct. But there is no, there's no gasoline car out there, conventional, that goes 700 miles, period. It just doesn't happen. So at the end of the day, all these yak kind of stories and whatnot, it's all baloney.
Range anxiety was invented by somebody who's never driven electric. I have zero range anxiety, 362 days a year. A couple days a year I go, all right, I'm going here, I'm going there. And for those days, you can manage it and you plan your journey.
Exactly, and that's what it is. Most people aren't driving 700 miles or 1,000 miles, or in our case, 8,500 miles every day.
Yeah.
And so for that, I charge at home. We have chargers at work, and so I never really have a problem.
I think people have range anxiety because OEMs have approached building EVs like a chore. Okay, the government said we have to make this many EVs this year, so they get the number done, they sell them, and they wave to the consumer and say, good luck with that. And then they outsource the charging infrastructure to Chargepoint, and they sell their charger to like a grocery store, and they go, good luck with that. And then it breaks down, and the grocery store doesn't want to hire a technician to come and fix it. And so then it's down, and the consumer gets left with their pants down. And so it's no wonder that EV adoption is slowing down. And here's an array of posts on Twitter of people having bad experiences with Chargepoint.
Okay, so I'm here with Hossein, and he's going to tell us a little bit about what they're doing here at Chargepoint as far as the actual units themselves. And I had to start here because Tesla. They've already got the charging systems ready to rock. They're doing it right now. And Hossein, first off, why don't you give us a little background on you, and then I'm going to dive right into that.
Sure. So yeah, my name is Hossein Kazemi. I run hardware engineering for Chargepoint. From the left-hand side, we have our, these are actually the new generation of our AC chargers. They go up to 80 amp, two ports. On both sides, you can charge simultaneously up to 80 amps. You can see we have multiple Teslas charging here, which some of them are capable of going to 80 amp AC.
So this cable here is quite big in diameter, so I'm assuming this is air-cooled, not water-cooled?
Yes, that's a 250 amp cable, air-cooled.
So 250 amps on this charger is pretty good. It's not as good as a supercharger. The V3 is at about 425 amps, and the new supercharger V4 is already at 615 amps. But this is not bad.
So the one thing that I really like about this is the fact that you've already set it up for a Tesla charging system. So now somebody who would get one of these could conceivably charge Teslas. And because now this is becoming the standard in North America, I don't know. And now you've even got a Tesla name on it. I'm really impressed. I really like the idea. You got big points just for doing that. I don't know if you planned that or something, but
no.
To me, I really like this idea. And coming along with this just makes it even easier for people, because now I've got both Chargepoint and Tesla charging stations if I've got a Tesla. And if I've got my Rivian, I can make that work as well. So, I'm really happy. This is very good.
Tesla needs help in transitioning the world to sustainable energy, and Chargepoint has less than a year of cash left, and I want them to survive. So here's 2 measures they are taking to improve their reliability. The first is that they're setting up a new network operations center that will draw from several big data feeds in an attempt to respond quickly to issues. It's also making changes to its app to offer more visibility about the status and readiness of its charging stations, and allows users to provide feedback on vandalism. The second stage they're taking is they're introducing a new decommissioning process to incentivize landlords who are no longer interested in hosting their public chargers to give them up. The hope is that this will reduce confusion for drivers who can see a charging station in the real world that's no longer available for use or listed in the app. Yeah, it's never fun to think that something exists and then you show up and it doesn't even work. So these are 2 good routes that Chargepoint is taking to increase their reliability, which right now stands at about 96%.
Again, there's a link underground on the DC side, so they can share modules. Yeah. So you can transfer power from this unit to the other unit and charge vehicles on that side, if there's no vehicle here, obviously. So there's 4 modules, 2 on each one. And the system knows how to manage that depending on the power that the vehicles are asking.
That's excellent news, because one of the things that anybody that's charged knows that if you're the first guy in line, this guy over here is not getting as much water as the guy over there. So having it so that they'll distribute better is a good idea, a really good idea.
Our faster chargers are actually around the corner.
Oh,
you can
let's
go
go
up
and
to
have a look.
500 amps. So these are
500 amps.
Yes.
Wow.
500 amps. Now we're talking. Okay, let's see what they got.
So you can.
Not
This is our
available for
fastest
public
charger.
use.
This is a 350 amp cable, and that's obviously the Chargepoint cable.
Yeah. Let me just try this one here now that I...
You can just push that button. Yeah. So that's a 350 amp cable.
350 amps. Why does this feel somehow
air-cooled.
lighter than the other?
It's our design, so you can see we have designed it ourselves with our partners. So our cables are usually better material in the jacket, much lighter, and you can see all the molding. This is what we do. That is right now charging simultaneously up to 500 amp on each side. So a total of 1,000 amp.
1,000 amps. Hence the background noise.
Yes.
That's a lot of juice.
The power blocks at the back, each one of them is 200 kilowatts. So you can put them in series or in parallel to make more power, up to megawatts. So depending on how much power you can push to the vehicle. So each one of these can process up to 1 megawatt, obviously 500 kilowatt on each side, up to 1,000 volts.
Wow, this is very, very interesting. I'm becoming more of a fan. So that's good.
That is good. My only concern right now is that it looks like they need like one of those big power producing units for every charger. And you can see right where they're doing construction, right behind there, I'll circle it for you, that there's more producing units there too. And behind Sandy, there is another one. Whereas with Tesla, they just pour multiple superchargers into a concrete slab at the factory, throw it in a truck, and then just slot it right onto the site and hook up the electrical. And you can see in this case that one unit is supporting 4 superchargers. But maybe we'll learn more as they head into the laboratory here.
How do you interface with, say, the ID4? Because they don't do OTA on those vehicles. So how do you, if you've got upgrades in your charging system, how does that new information relate to, that's a Mercedes obviously, but how would it relate to one of the companies that doesn't have
OTA.
over the air?
Yeah. So the work that we do, all the changes will apply to our software. We do not change the vehicle software. That is, their engineers need to do that. So when the vehicle comes here, we check interoperability, we look at all the signals, make sure the timings are good. So we typically work with their engineers at a time if there's a problem. And it's their responsibility to kind of make the changes and release the code to their vehicles. Like in this case, but with this Mercedes right now, we are doing app integration. So we are working on app integration with them where if you search an address that you want to go, all of our chargers will pop up. It actually does the routing and planning, and it shows all of our chargers on that. So that's the kind of integration we are doing.
Well, that's good. That will instantly increase the experience for legacy EV customers having a map of all the Chargepoint locations on their dashboard. But you could hear his voice get quieter as he talked about the complexity that they have to deal with in working with other engineers. And my question is, if legacy companies are not making money on charging, then why are they going to be motivated to release over-the-air updates to make their charging infrastructure better and to increase the speed of their charging if they're not making any money? Tesla's the only one making money, so they're incentivized to make it a better experience. But the only incentivization I could think of for legacy right now would be to increase sort of the overall experience of their brand and increasing brand loyalty by making the charging experience better. But how motivated are they going to be if they're not making money and investing in that? I don't know about that.
It's the cycling that usually kills everything. That's what destroys those boxes.
Right. So again,
the cycling.
I think our kind of methodology of design is very modular. What we call everything is field replaceable unit. So as much as we can, we don't want any skilled, kind of technician to be required for a field repair. So they show up, they know what is wrong. They literally, even our boards, if you can see here, like this is our controller, main controller. It's a module. You unbolt it, bolt a new one.
This is what you would be touching your credit card and whatnot too. So this is the interface to this particular unit.
And then this is actually the module you can see. It's completely modular. It mounts into our AC product. Actually, that's the AC product that you saw outside is right in front of you right there. You can see that's actually people are testing on it, but that's the same controller mounted there. It has its own built-in cooling system.
Yeah, it's a heat sink.
Yeah, no active cooling required.
Yeah.
And
So
that has
yeah.
RFID, everything. It has speakers, it has microphone, camera built in. It's pretty much a cell phone, but industrial, obviously.
yeah, obviously an industrial. That's a
much
lot
larger.
that's a big heat sink.
Yes.
Yeah, that wick it away good. And there's everything's air cooled.
The design looks very simple and it's modular, which means it's plug and play. A technician shows up, pulls out the broken part, plugs in a new one, and it's done. This is how Chargepoint increases their reliability. You reduce the complexity of the product. And now you can actually upgrade different modules without having to redo the entire product. So that's a big win for Chargepoint.
What happens if you get an issue?
So we monitor temperatures on pretty much all the major connections,
Yeah.
especially the customer connections, because we don't have that much of a control
Right,
over that.
yeah.
Once it leaves the factory, that's the
Right.
part that has the most problems. So we have built-in temperature sensors, so we know if there's a loose connection. For the rest of the system, we have hundreds of sensors. All the critical components have sensors in them. We even have G sensor inside this. So if the truck hits this, I know
Yeah,
which
that's where
direction,
yeah.
how much force did it hit it
Yeah.
with. We actually know, we can detect all of that. There is a lot of sensor and a lot of algorithm behind it for us to do.
So how do you shut it off? So say some clown, drunk, whatever, runs over one of these things, knocks it over. How do you shut?
So the power. So this talks to the power block.
Yeah.
So the source of power is not here. That's the good news.
Right. Yeah.
So that will lock that.
So you don't need a
connection.
pyrotechnic because if this gets whacked, shut it off.
that's-
Okay. So
exactly.
that's fine.
Okay, I'm really impressed with the products that Chargepoint is scaling up right now. And to get this video a day before BP announces the $100 million purchase of Tesla Superchargers, it honestly gives me a lot of hope for the future of EV adoption. Because by selling Superchargers to BP, Tesla is basically initiating like a franchise model to speed up the creation of the global charging network. It's similar to ChargePoint's business model actually, in which BP is going to be responsible for Tesla's hardware. They're going to put their brand on it and they're going to be responsible for repairing it. And I know that I was crapping on ChargePoint's model earlier, saying that it doesn't incentivize them to keep it up and running, but Tesla has unique leverage to actually motivate BP to keep the chargers up and running. And this is because if they don't, Tesla will actually pull them off of their maps. So they will lose a lot of traffic they get from Tesla drivers if they do not maintain the reliability of the hardware. So it seems like a good move for Tesla, and Omar had some good thoughts on this because it seems like it costs on average about $500,000 to $1 million to make a supercharger station, as it's about $40,000 per stall. And when you get customers coming to superchargers, you make on average about like $10 in profit. So it takes quite a while to get that $1 million back. So when you sell $100 million of superchargers and now you don't have to worry about them, you don't have to install them, you don't have to repair them, you get that money up front that in the past it took you quite a few years to get back. So it's really going to fuel Tesla's growth. And it's kind of like how McDonald's got their franchise all across the world. It's a strategy that prioritizes growth and it's going to accelerate EV adoption. And it might hurt long-term profits, but I think all Tesla's concerned right now is answering people's worries about EVs because people were worried about affordability, so they drove costs down. Now people are worried about charging and they have anxiety, so Tesla is accelerating the charging infrastructure. So while we've seen EV adoption slow recently, I'm feeling quite hopeful seeing these charging stories, and it seems like ChargePoint is really doing some good things now. So I hope you all have a great day and I'll see you tomorrow.